and also the voters on what happened on election day. I'm going to read my statement that I put in for you all, and hopefully you will all will understand from what I read from. And I'll entertain the questions later, as the chairman stated. To Mr. Chair, members of delegation, and voters of Richland County. My name is Lillian McBride. I'm the Director of Richland County. I would like to thank you for the opportunity to be here today to address you at this public hearing. I realize the sacrifice each of you made here and appreciate you taking the time to hold this public inquiry into the difficulties that occur on November 6th in Richland County. I first want to publicly acknowledge that there were unique difficulties here in Richland County because of mistakes made within my office. For that, I am humbly sorry, and I express my heartfelt apology to each of you, to everyone in here today, and to the voters of Richland County who could not be here today, but all are interested in finding out what went wrong and how can we avoid this mistake going forward. I am horrified at the problem that occurred on election day. Earlier this month, since the poll closed on the evening of November 6th, and in the case the early morning hours of November 7th, my staff and I devoted our time to two things in particular. First, we have been doing those tasks that our law requires, meaning completing the canvass, completing the vote count, certify the election results to those results under the law. As you recall, the process was interrupted by two lawsuits, and I'm just iterating some of the things that Ms. Plum's already presented to you. As you recall, the process was interrupted by two separate lawsuits, one filed in Richland County in Judge Manning order as to stop our work or the SLED to intervene, and that the order to comment or recount. The delay caused by the lawsuit ended with Supreme Court stay. Judge Manning order and order SLED to return everything to us so that we could do our job. The second lawsuit was filed in the Supreme Court, but that case ended when the parties in the first case agreed to dismiss until after the votes were certified, and the Supreme Court declared the second lawsuit was moot, meaning that they dismissed. These proceeding, however, delayed the things for several days. The Supreme Court permitted us to complete our task on Monday, November the 19th, and we met that deadline, which we end up doing it that Friday instead of that Monday. We finished. The second thing my office and I have been working on entirely is that we know and regret difficulties that occurred, so we have been gathering all the information we could from various sources to find out what went wrong. Once we are satisfied after a thorough investigation that we know what caused the problem, our goal is to fix those problems and to make sure that what happened on November the 6th will never happen again. As a part of this process, we began to gather information from our precinct clerk through a post-election survey. Some of the clerk has responded, but we have not received all the response from the clerk from the all 124 precincts as of yet. We also have our planned post-election meeting of all staff, and we'll gather information on things that work and things that need improvement. We are gathering information from staff members who field calls that day and from technicians who respond to call for replacement machine or failure at the precincts. We will gather all this information from these sources, which will provide us a clear picture of everything that went wrong and what we need to do to make sure those problems do not happen again. Our preliminary findings indicate that a mistake occurred when an employee misread certain numbers on these spreadsheets that contain allocation from precinct for the number of voting machines and the number of PEBs. Well, there's PEBs, but the name is Personal Electronic Ballot Activation Device, and the short term for it is PEBs. As you know, the election code requires that we provide one machine for every 250 registered voter or portion thereof, or as near to, or as may be practicable. Therefore, review the number of registered voters for a particular precinct and divide by the number by 250, and the result gives the number of machines that the precinct should get. It's a matter of basic math. Who also, however, needs to decide how many PEBs to send to each precinct. The PEBs are two colors. The green ones open the machine in the morning and close them at the end of the day. The red ones are used to clear the machine for each new voter. Each precinct gets at least one green and one red PEB. Because of all, the voting machine can be opened and closed with that one PEB. However, it would be terrible inefficient to have only one red PEB per precinct. So what we generally send one PEB for every two machines. That means several workers can assist by preparing different machines at the same time with a separate red PEB. The allocation of PEB is a matter of the numbers of machines and our past experience with particular precincts. When the final plan was brought to me for approval, I made the changes to a number of precincts to increase the numbers of PEB. However, the number of machines allocated remained the same since the number is driven by a statutory formula. I handwrote the PE changes in the margin and returned the plan to employee for implementation. Unfortunately, an employee read the just PEB numbers instead of the final allocation of voting machine for some of the precincts. That list generated a new list which contained only the precinct numbers and the numbers of machines to be delivered.
I'm lost, and maybe it's because she's reading too fast, maybe I'm slow, but if you could go back over that again, that seemed to be pertinent about the delivery of machines, but I'm missing what she said.
You would not mind if you would repeat that section again?
Are you talking about the allocation of the PEBs versus the machines?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. The allocation of PEBs are the matter of number of machines. And what we do as far as with the PEBs, I was mentioning in this that we try to do at least one or maybe sometimes two PEB per machine. And what happened when I made the changes to increase the PEBs from what they were originally to make sure they are comfortable with the amount of machine that I approved to go out. So I requested a different additional PEBs, and however those PEBs got misconstrued or misread with them being machines instead of PEBs.
Chairman, can I just make sure I understood something? Thank you, Ms. McBride. Did you say that typically you send out one green and one red PEB per precinct or per machine?
Typically, we send at least one green PEB that which is open and close the voting machine. We send a green one to every voting precinct.
Precinct.
Right, precinct. Right, precinct.
Okay, because I think there was a little.
Okay.
So
precinct.
You send one green PEB, one green PEB, and one red PEB to every precinct.
Right.
And then, just so I can make sure I'm understanding correctly, Mr. Chairman, if I can just make sure, you're saying there was a decision made to send additional PEBs to precincts that may have a larger number of machines.
Right, and also I was saying that normally it's one, but if it's a larger precinct, of course we're going to send more than one red PEB.
I got lost in that too. Thank you.
Okay. And again, I said unfortunately, employee read the adjusted PEB numbers instead of the final allocation number of machines to some of the precincts. And again, I said that the list generated a new list.
I'm sorry. All right. So what you're saying is that the adjusted PEB number was misread by an employee? Who was that employee?
Well, Representative Rutherford, she is probably not in a position now that she wants to disclose that again. And you know, once again, that's a probing question. We need clarification.
It's a written statement that she passes on her testimony.
You will have an opportunity to question her as much as you want when your opportunity comes. So I would ask that you would continue to read your statement.
Thank you. And in the generation of that list contained only the precinct number and the numbers machine to be delivered, and the new list was sent to the warehouse as a basic for distributing machine to each precinct. That explained why a precinct got the same a machine as 2012. Since I had noted a change for PEB in the margin, but many precincts did not receive enough machine. Those precincts where the numbers were misread. This mistake was not detected until much later because the employee at various polling locations did not realize they did not receive enough machine. We respond to any precinct who requests additional machine, but we struggle to keep up with the demand. Our election system coordinator, Cheryl Gooden, is here today, and she can speak on more of those issues in detail. As you can see how it was a mistake, and it had a drastic consequence. Again, I'm very upset this happened, and deeply sorry for the problem this mistake caused. We are adopting procedures to ensure this kind of mistake does not happen again, and to make certain that we distribute the correct number of machine and PEB to each precinct. I would like to address, and Ms. Crum, she's already went into this, and I don't know if I need to go in about the red bag.
Just one other clarification for Representative Allen.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Yeah, for clarification, because my voters and I just know booths. We don't know PEBs. I see a bunch of attachments here dealing with booths. Do we have attachments today dealing with this writing in the margins and somebody misread it, the PEBs? Is that in our presentation today?
Yes.
As a matter of fact, it's one of the exhibits that Ms. Crum gave you.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes.
I just have a point of clarification for Representative Valentine. Senator Jackson is the chairman of our delegation. Bobby Harrell's your speaker. So you say, Mr. Speaker, you're referring to
I think I would love to trade places with Bobby Harrell. You can make that
So
possible.
if you will come over to our office and let Representative, please address our members correctly.
So can y'all help me clarify the PEB attachment for Representative Rutherford and myself?
I think Ms. Crum shared that on, is it attachment C or one?
I believe it's PCP.
Is it?
Right.
That's the red lighting.
All right, so we're going to clarify this. All right? So what's in my hand and what was already said, this red mysterious writing that we don't know who wrote it, up above, unless I'm reading it wrong, it says number of machines. I don't see number of PEBs. Now, if we're going to talk PEBs, I'm fine. But let's educate me and everybody on that, and I'd like that exhibit because I do not have that in my hand.
Do you want it later or what?
You will continue the presentation as you wrap this presentation up.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Chairman,
Let her finish.
but it was a clarification.
Let her finish.
On the question I asked,
Well, she has the floor.
was a clarification on Mr. Valentine.
You can finish, Mr. McBride. Thank you.
I would like to address another problem we experienced that day. Although we had abundance of batteries, for some reason a number of the batteries, including some that were brand new, failed. We also had the machine connected by a daisy chain technique recommended by engineer and electric staff, but we still experience power difficulty. And those are daisy chain that we have at our warehouse, and we had the county and some of their engineers to come out and to check into that so we could have more of those to daisy chain the machines in the warehouse. And also I want to iterate that we also sent out an email to each of the parties inviting them to participate in that process of when we prepared the voting machine at the warehouse, and we did not receive any response from any of those parties. So I just want to make that clarification when we were getting those machines ready. And as I spoke about the daisy chain technique recommended by the engineer and the electrical staff, but was still experiencing power failure. We experienced other difficulties associated with calibration of machine, most likely caused when the machine will move or when a voter tap hard on the screen rather than simply touching the screen. Although some of the employees at the polling location knew how to handle those situations, sometimes they did not follow required training. Again, we are gathering this information through our clerk survey and will be able to provide more complete information to you and the voter once the process is completed. We also had a number of flashcard failures. The flashcards are a small device that record information from the machine memory. When a flash card fails, the technician attempts to remedy the situation on site, but the best solution in most cases was to remove the defective card, retrieve information from the machine, and replace the defective flash card. We have kept all hardware, including a corrupt flash card, and intend to obtain answers as to why the flash card failed and what can be done about that. Let me emphasize, however, that no votes that were cast were lost because of flash card failure. But the machine and equipment has some age on them, and the delegation should investigate replacing those machines that may have outlived their usefulness. Let me address training and staff. Our precinct coordinator, Rebecca Brown, is responsible for developing training for our precinct assistant and can be made available to you. All precinct workers are required to undergo training before they are allowed to work at a polling location. It is our policy to require new employees to do their training in person at various sites around the county. Others who have experience have the option of being trained in person or online. Each worker receives a manual with instruction and troubleshooting guide. We are currently gathering information from each precinct to determine which precinct was short-handed because someone did not report for work, which one had workers who did not follow their training. Once we have that information, we can better know how to address any training needs, better deal with staffing problem. Again, I will make all this information available to you and the people of Richland County. Next, it was reported that a ballot was discovered. Ms. Crone went into about the ballots. I can go into what I have, or
I think Ms. Crum has addressed those issues that Ms. Crum addressed.
Yes,
Ms.
Mr.
McBride,
Chair.
you don't have to address those. We can open the floor for questions once you finish. So as soon as
Okay.
you wrap up, we want to do that.
okay. One final difficulty I would like to address briefly. This has to do with the formatting of paper absentee, in which Ms. Crump's already went over that too. So if I don't need to go over that, I won't. And I think if any question, and we have Ms. Goodwin here that she was talking about the technical part of it, that she will be able to answer for anyone if they have any questions.
Okay.
Now I want to reiterate to everyone the paper that met the statutory requirement was counted once we discovered the area. Again, I acknowledge the mistake that was made and I offer a complete, humble apology for the problem voter faced on November the 6th. I understand this apology, like any other, comes with the promise to never let this happen again. I can assure you, the members of delegation and the voters of Richland County, that my office will do everything within its power to identify all the problems.